we do have a special guest joining the show. I want to get his opinion on it all because he was there in attendance. And that is the man who covers the Detroit Lions for M Live. That is our good friend, joins us every single Monday, and as always, brought to you guys by BetUS. That is Kory Woods. Kory, what's going on, my man?
Yo, what's going on?
Kory, listen, you got the Buffs on. I saw the Commanders players.
Wires. Got to get you together. These are the wires.
Hey, it's on me, Kory. That's on me. All right. Let me lock in. Kory, you were there, all right, in attendance, and we'll get to the Ben Johnson stuff. But when you left that stadium, what was going through your head? What you had to watch as an 8.5-point favorite, heavy favorite, Lions fans juiced up? I mean, what'd you make of that performance on Saturday night?
Well, I kind of felt something was weird in the air when I walked into Ford Field that day. Not saying I sensed that the Lions were going to lose, but it was a weird feeling in the air that day. But, to answer your question, after I saw that game, to me, it just really resembled the Week 15 loss they had against the Buffalo Bills. Same thing, slow start, not able to generate any pressure on a mobile running quarterback. And they got too cute with the play calling at times on offense. It was pretty much the same loss. And I know some people thought that maybe things were, fixed because they won their next three, their next couple of games after that. They beat the Bears, they beat the 49ers and the Vikings. But, those weren't mobile quarterbacks. So, just one of their weaknesses showed up with, pretty much so many guys on injury reserve, including 5 or 6 starters. So, I would say it was shocking in the sense that it was shocking in the sense they got out to another slow start on offense. That was the shocking part. But the way that Jaden Daniels played, if anybody had been paying attention to this Commanders team, this guy has been balling all year long. And Dan Campbell said this throughout the week when there are some outlets that got a little bit too beside themselves. Jaden Daniels is not your typical rookie. The guy is, first off, he's 24 years old, so he's a little bit on the older side. He's played in big pressure moments, former Heisman Trophy winner. You can just run down the list. 3,500 passing yards this season, a little bit over that, roughly 70% completion rate, 25 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, 891 yards on the ground. The guy balled the hell out the entire season. So it was shocking in the sense that they lost a game, that their offense wasn't able to really get things going. But the fact that, Jaden Daniels performed the way he did, no, because again, it pretty much resembled against Buffalo.
I interrupted today's video to tell you about the sponsor, and that is BetUS. You can get ready for that casino feel. BetUS Casino. Check it out. Now that there's no Lions football, you can spin your way to massive jackpots with BetUS Casino and all their amazing deals. 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000 and a 250% sign-up bonus for the crypto up to $5,000. So go check out the casino. Remember, always gamble responsibly. It's awesome. They got live dealer tables. It's tons of fun. Now, let's get back to the video.
Yeah, Kory, I want to ask you kind of the biggest thing, and I feel like on social media with this Lions loss that everyone's kind of talking about is obviously out of that game, the 5 turnovers and 4 turnovers from Jared Goff. What are your thoughts kind of going forward? And obviously all of this, all the conversation about Jared Goff in the future, like, hey, can he get you to that big game and win that big game for you? What are your thoughts on that after the performance on Saturday night?
Well, let's make no mistake about it. Jared Goff played a terrible game on Saturday. I believe that after that strip sack that he went into concussion protocol. I know that he cleared concussion protocol, but that does not mean that he still did not suffer the effects from that hit. And I think that he was a little bit rattled, and that showed up in the way that he played the rest of the way. I'm hearing a couple of things in passing that he may have been under the weather as well, so that could possibly play into it. But when you're talking about long-term, Jared Goff is 30 years old, and when you look at the landscape of available options or realistic options out there, who would you replace Jared Goff with? And no disrespect to him, if you're talking about replacing Jared Goff with Hendon Hooker, you're already lost the plot. When you look at Jared Goff and what he's done this season, aside from the game against the Texans, and of course this past Saturday, Goff has played like a top 5, top 7 quarterback for most of the season. And again, not his best showing on Saturday, but last playoffs, he played some of his best ball. And last year's playoff loss wasn't on him. So I believe that it's a lot of fans are right now in the moment. They're emotional. They're not really logically thinking, but Jared Goff is a damn good QB. If anything, I think the play calling left a lot to be desired out the gate because, all due respect, it was great to have David Montgomery back from the injury, but to start the game off of giving David Montgomery carries and not Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, was malpractice by Ben Johnson because the past 3 weeks to end that season, Jahmyr Gibbs was on a tear. He scored 4 touchdowns in the game against the Vikings. And you wait until the next series to get this guy going. And then when you see that the Commanders do not have an answer for Jahmyr Gibbs, you still go away from him, something that Dan Campbell kind of hinted at not being very pleased with, but they had to do it because of, the way the game turned. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around, but simply placing it on Jared Goff, I think that, that I don't think that's fair. I think that, he knows he had a bad game and he'll reload and come back better next year. But, I know I kind of went long-winded on that one, but I just think that the Goff hate today is a little bit, that I'm seeing on social media, is a little bit misguided.
You talked about, Kory, the malpractice by Ben Johnson on the sidelines, not putting in Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it was even worse today when it was announced he's going to the Chicago Bears out of all teams. I didn't care if Ben left. I didn't. But Chicago's a different story. What is your opinion now that Detroit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is going to Chicago, and it looks like he's already been putting a staff together even before today started?
I mean, it happens. This is nothing new. It's new to Lions fans because there's never really been a time where Lions coordinators are being targeted by other teams to fill head coaching vacancies like this, seriously being targeted. Some might be tabbed like back in the day to fulfill Rooney Rule requirements, which was a sham mockery. But I mean, really looking at Lions coordinators to fill positions, this is something that is new to Detroit. And it's no fun when when other teams got the gun. So it's not really shocking. I will say the timing is definitely quick. I mean, less than 48 hours. But again, there was never going to be a time that was going to be good for Ben Johnson to depart Detroit to go to Chicago. And even though, he stays in the division, when you look at the landscape of the jobs out there, the Bears have a pretty much set offense with Caleb Williams, that receiving core. I mean, it's a really great situation set up for Ben. And I know some people, he's a traitor for going to the Bears. I mean, there's only 32 of these jobs in the NFL. He had to go to the one that was best for him. And you're talking about a guy that sat out a couple of these coaching cycles to return to the Lions. As a matter of fact, Ben Johnson could have very well been the coach of the Washington Commanders, but he chose to stay back and run it back another year to go get that goal. So the fact that he went out to go get his right now, I mean, more power to him. But on top of that, hey, who's to say that Dan Campbell can't find a replacement? You got to think Ben Johnson was in Detroit 2 years before Dan Campbell even got here, and Dan Campbell replaced Ben Johnson, who was a rather unknown at that time. He replaced a veteran, Anthony Lynn, and promoted Ben Johnson to that role. So if Dan Campbell has the good sense to promote Ben Johnson, I think he has the good sense to go tab his replacement.
Well, Kory, another one. I want to get to Aaron Glenn because it's already being kind of reported he's going to take his interviews. He's got his rounds this week, the New York Jets, the New Orleans Saints. What do you think he ends up, assuming the Lions lose both coordinators? And I guess a side question, who's replacing these guys?
I think that, well, I'm going to go off of what I'm reading first. From what I'm reading right now is just that if Aaron Glenn's going to meet with the Jets tomorrow, and if no deal is struck, then he's going to go ahead and go meet with the Saints. He also has interest from the Raiders and the Jaguars as well. If I were a betting man, I would say that he would end up with the Saints. To me, it's just a logical fit to go ahead and go back go back, quote unquote, home where he was at and take over that team. But again, if he goes to the Jets, it wouldn't be shocking. So I would go Saints 1, Jets 2. As far as their replacements, well, I know there are reports right now that are floating out that Dennis Allen is the front runner to land the Bears DC role, but I mean, he's not hired yet. Again, I don't know anything. I'm just guessing. I could see a scenario where Dennis Allen is holding out from accepting any DC job to see what Aaron Glenn does, because if Aaron Glenn takes either that Jets or Saints job and that Lions vacancy officially becomes open, I can see the Lions trying to go after Dennis Allen, because again, him and Dan Campbell have a relationship from their time at the Saints, and it would be an ideal fit, just because they have the same ethos. But if they decide to stay inside the building, I mean, I could see them looking at Kelvin Shepard. That's a guy that Aaron Glenn was grooming to be a defensive coordinator. Who knows? Maybe Terrell Williams might get a look. When you're talking about replacing Ben Johnson, Tanner's been talked about. Offensive coordinator, assistant head coach and running backs coach Scotty Montgomery is being talked about. So those are a couple possibilities right there. So that's kind of where I would stick with it right now.
Yeah, and I know, Kory, we obviously weren't expecting to talk Lions offseason probably until February. But I just want to get your thoughts now that it is the offseason and there's going to have to be moves made, defensively and get, whether it's free agency, re-signing guys, the draft. What do you see? What direction and what do you think the Lions are going to put at the top of their list heading into this offseason when it comes to player personnel?
I mean, when you're looking at that draft, I think you just have to go strictly defense. When you look at the offense, I mean, if you want to go ahead and add some depth on that O-line later in the draft, more power to you. I think that would be very ideal. But when you're looking at this defense, you're going to be losing some guys. You're going to be possibly losing Carlton Davis. Who knows if you bring Derek Barnes back? Who knows if you bring Ifeatu Melifonwu back? I mean, you got some guys. I mean, Marcus Davenport's going to be gone. You got some guys that you're going to have to replace. So I can see them going defensive heavy in this draft. And I mean, who knows? They may also make some trades. It's kind of fluid. Maybe they might go out somewhere in free agency and add another wide receiver if they don't bring Tim Patrick back, or Allen Robinson back. It's for depth reasons. But I believe that this is going to be a defensive focused draft and defensive focused free agency, because kind of piggybacking off of what Dan Campbell said today, there's only 53 roster spots that you could have, and he's just kind of wondering, like, man, how much depth on defense can you have based off of what they went through? Because it was a bizarre situation. They went through first and second guys. So I think it's going to be real defensive heavy, because that was just where their deficiency was. I think on offense they're pretty set.
And kind of staying with the draft now, Kory, we had this conversation after the game, and it's just something I want your thoughts on as well. Do you think Brad, at least now, needs to kind of shift some of his draft mentality, where you see like the Giovanni Manus and Hendon Hookers, the Broderick Martins, Sione Vakis, all these guys that you're hoping to develop, but at the end of the day, they're not touching the field. And when you see the injuries that this team's going through, especially on the defensive side of the ball, do you think he needs to stop drafting these development? Hey, 3-4 seasons down the road, they're going to be good, and he just needs to get guys now? Or do you think just stick to the same philosophy?
I think right now, with where they are, I think if they would have made the NFC Championship or if they would have made the Super Bowl, they could have went ahead and stick with the same philosophy. I think right now they need to be more aggressive in getting guys that are going to touch the field. So yes, I think they need to shift their focus to getting guys that are going to touch the field. Or on another aspect, take some of those picks and hit the trade market to go get game changers to add to this team on the defensive side of the ball, because I still believe their Super Bowl window is open for at least another year or two, because they have a lot of those core pieces locked up into extensions, and some of them are still on their rookie deals. But I believe, next year is the season to go for it. Next season is the year to be on your less need F them picks and go grab some talent. So if you're not gonna go F them picks and grab some talent on the trade market, then I don't think the ideal mindset is to draft more projects. Draft people that are going to impact the game right now.
Yeah. No, Kory, I'm with you. This we got to be a little more aggressive for Brad Holmes, but I appreciate you, man. I mean, for this season, you've been crushing. I know the Pistons got you. They're winning now, Kory. I don't know. They get you. You just switched to the Lions. Now the Pistons are looking pretty good. You're doing great work for the Lions. Keep it up. You got an off season to cover, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks a lot.
This video is brought to you by BetUS. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.